Andrew McIntyre. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Amsterdam, and my role in this book is I'm the lead author on Chapter 8, which is Regulatory Innovations and Policy Options for Synthetic Media and Digital Democracy, and I write that with Yasmin Yousefi and Lola Sanchez. Well, generally this chapter is the culmination of all the other chapters. So previously we've talked about the dangers of deepfakes with regards to democracy or to ethnic minorities or other vulnerable groups. This chapter then says, what are we going to do about that? So we'll focus on regulatory changes and policy options for addressing these kinds of harms. Generally, we try to define harms caused by synthetic media in terms of individuals, collectives, as in groups, vulnerable groups, and also societal harms. So more generally, how is disinformation undermining democracy, undermining democratic institutions, and undermining the integrity of our information environment. So in order to address these various different harms, we have a number of policy proposals, which I won't get into all of them, but generally we are looking at three major strategic objectives. That is clarification, coordination, and citizenship. So clarification is about clarifying the role or the characterization of generative AI, AI-generated technology, AI-generated content, and disinformation in the law. So there are various different legal definitions for all of these things and how they should be tackled. We want to unify those things. Secondly, coordination is about bringing together multiple different stakeholders, be they governments, media organizations, other policing or democratic institutions at a local, a national, and an international level, and essentially trying to bring these things together to make for a much more effective and rapid response to the spread of disinformation. And finally, the third strategic objective is promoting citizenship. And that is primarily about promoting a citizenry that is aware of the issues of AI technologies, and also how to ethically use AI technologies to potentially represent their own lives, the experiences they have day to day. So it's not just about protecting citizens from the harms of technology, but also encouraging them to use technology to make a better politics and a better political discourse. So those are the broad findings of Chapter 8. Of course, there's a lot more detail to it. Well, we'd like everybody to read them primarily, but I think policymakers generally and people involved in regulation, we want them to start taking a different approach to tackling this problem. So previously they've tried to address the spread of disinformation by containing it or banning certain technologies. We want to foster another way of doing this, which is aimed at promoting positive political engagement, positive political participation, as well as containing these things. So our primary audience is policymakers and asking them to reconsider the more traditional approaches that they would take. So my particular background is more theory and philosophy, whereas my two co-authors, Yasmin and Lola, are more legal scholars, and Yasmin is more focused on AI ethics and law as well. So it's very interesting having those different perspectives in sort of clashing and challenging our own sort of assumptions and our own approaches. So it's this really interesting thing of interdisciplinary work where we challenge one another and we get to a much more interesting, a much more productive product, I suppose, at the end.